Hello, everyone. This is JDK Winnikin from Staying Power. I wanted to welcome you to a special episode, in fact, a special 2 episodes coming up this week and next of Staying Power. Ashley is on a well-deserved vacation for the next couple weeks. So instead of taking some time off, we decided to bring in a special guest for a 2-hour conversation that we've split in 2 parts. And I want to introduce you to her before we start. Our guest is Deena Mehta. And Deena may not be well known to a lot of American viewers and listeners, but she's certainly well known in many places around the world. In fact, she's one of the most important women in modern India's history. She was the first woman in India's history to ever be the vice president and then the president of one of their boards of trade. And that was, one of the biggest economic engines in all of India. And this was in Mumbai. She also became one of the most important people over the last 40 years in helping modernize India's economy and their financial system, which has led to increased foreign investment in India and increased political modernization in India. And she's been a major part of making that happen. She's here to talk to us today about what that means in terms of building a better life, particularly for an entire country of people, which is why we wanted to bring her here. And we're not just talking any country. This is the biggest country in the world for population, 1.6 billion people. So we thought, we need more than 1 hour. We need 2 hours. And so today you're going to get the first hour of this conversation, hearing about her background, her experience in the financial sector in India. And then next week, she'll be talking a little bit more on a personal level of all the things she's learned about how we can each build a better life, no matter what country we're in. So with that in mind, let's jump right into today's episode. Here's Staying Power with Deena Mehta. Thanks. Welcome to Staying Power, a show that is all about creating a better life. And every single way that you think we mean that is exactly how we mean that. And every week we come together to talk about just one element of building a better life. And by we, I mean myself, JDK Winnikin, and my co-host, my friend, my colleague, my co-producer, Ashley Knievel. Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
Good to see you. How are you?
Nice to see you too. I'm good.
Good. We're always excited to get together and talk about this every single week. Mm-hmm. It's not every week, though, that we have a special guest in the studio.
No, I mean, I'm always here, but
you're always here and you're always a special guest. Of course. I want to make sure we don't lose sight of that. However, we do bring guests on the show from time to time, but very rarely do we have as esteemed a guest as we have today. And we're very excited to jump right into this because this is a conversation, or it's going to be a conversation that is going to be so wide-ranging, so interesting for all of you that we're going to actually have to do 2 hours of it. So we're only getting to the first part of the conversation today, and the second part of the conversation will be next week. And yes, I'm keeping you all in suspense, all of you listeners, because I have a couple of things I got to say first. So stay with us for a minute before we introduce our guest. However, remember, if you miss any of this episode or would like to catch up on any of the other episodes of Staying Power, you can catch Staying Power as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel where you can watch the live stream of every single episode. And you can find out more about us in the show notes of the show, wherever you get your podcasts. And as well as find out about our Patreon site where you can support our larger work. And our, let's see, what else did I miss? Our email, stayingpowershow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So lots of ways to get in touch with us. And we have a feeling, Ashley, we're going to be hearing from a lot of people after these episodes. What about you?
I think these are going to be quite the favorite,
all right,
actually.
Okay, yeah, I think so too, because we have an absolutely fascinating person here that for our American listeners, they may not be familiar with her, but there are a lot of people around the world who know this person very well. And I'm going to explain why in just a minute, but I want to introduce her first right now. Our guest for today and for next week's episode is Deena Mehta. Hello, Deena. How are you?
Thank you, JD.
Thank you so much for being here.
Having me here.
Absolutely. We're so happy to have you and so happy to hear your opinions on all of these things. This show being about building a better life, you obviously have had a very esteemed career. What, from the very beginning, what drove you to go in the direction that you did? And how did that idea, helping people build a better life, inform your career and life path?
I think right from my school days, I was a very much an activity oriented person, doing a lot of social work. Like I used to organize, we have something like Navratri festival in India, which is 9 day festival where on all 9 days, garbas and dancing is organized every day.
Mhm.
So I used to organize that. Then I used to organize fun clubs where people would put up stalls and give different kinds of foods and games and all. So I organized all those things. Then as part of the JCs, I was part of the JCs, and as part of JCs, we used to have lot of medical camps, eye checkup camps, and various kind of social welfare activities which were there throughout. So during my school and college life, I took part in all these kind of activities. In fact, I was also selected to go to Japan at the age of 17 to as part of a delegation which was just for international people coming together. So we had about 500 people from Japan, and we had 50 international delegates. So I was one of them, and again I was the first woman delegate to part of India, because I went on the eighth youth voyage. So prior 7 ones, they did not have any women, so I was there and representing India's culture, what India is all about. All these things were actually talked about on the entire. It was a voyage, so we went by ship. So we went to Hong
Oh,
Kong,
wow.
and then from Hong Kong to Yokohama, we went by ship. So that is how most of my early life, if you see, it has been involved in some or the other kind of social activities. In And of course I had some spiritual inclinations also. So I used to learn a lot of Sanskrit shloks and all. And I was also part of this children's learning group and then youth learning groups for purpose of really spiritual uplifting of the people around. So that way I think I am a person who's super hyper active kind of person. So uh, continuously I am looking for something to do. And I think people just come and they just that vacuum, some time vacuum which is there, it just get filled up and it gets sucked up.
Mhm.
So all these things I kept on doing till I got married. And then of course after marriage, my two children, and then the stock market. I think the stock market, it completely absorbed me for a number of years, in which I am fortunate I did lot of things in those period. And I think it is my I am a shaper. If you have heard about the Belbin scores,
Mhm.
I am having one of the highest scores in the world of a shaper. A shaper is somebody who is very good at executing things.
Ah.
So I am, one of those kind of persons who is very good at executing. So after I took the test, I really understood my personality. That since I am this kind of personality, I just keep on looking for things to do, and as a result of that, I am happy that I contributed a lot for the stock exchange. Because if you look 40 years ago, the systems which were in stock exchange, they were completely outdated compared to today. And I was instrumental in major reforms which happened at the stock exchange. It is my perseverance and I think knowledge, very very important is the knowledge and the constant drive to just keep on improving things. Today should be better, tomorrow should be better than today, and that is that kind of drive. And huge perseverance is required, because crores of rupees, like millions of rupees, billions of rupees, they get traded every day. People's interest are there. Everybody is interested. The more you have delay, they'll have higher floats.
Mhm.
Or somebody will say, oh, the faster it is, I'll get my money faster. So this constant fight is there between the buyer and the seller. And then there is the market, which is risk has to be managed in the market. So so many conflicting interests are there in the entire system. And then at that point of time, there was no computerization.
Mm.
So the first computer which was bought by the exchange, it costed about 1.8 million rupees, and there was so much opposition at buying that computer, because what used to happen, we used to use at night the Life Insurance Corporation of India, which is the biggest insurance company in India. We used to use their time at night, and then at the end of the month, when they had to process their notices and all, we were given lower priority, and our trades would not get matched, and almost 30-40% failure in trades, because everything was manual. So,
What?
those cards, 1010 card punching used to happen. And then those cards were read by the system. So you can imagine what time. And then we migrated to floppies, the small floppies which were there. So instead of punching, we had floppies. And then, of course, after that, the online trading system came. So this whole journey of, right from punching cards to this whole journey, I have been part of the journey. And I think a lot of perseverance and my very high activity, aptitude to do so many things at a time, that really helped. And I think today stock exchanges are one of the safest places, barring the price fluctuation. So far as operational efficiency is concerned, like if you sell, you will always get your stocks. You will, if you you'll get your money. If you buy, you will always get your stocks. Your title will be clear. Earlier we used to have physical shares, so your title is not clear. You send the stocks for transfer, and then the signature of the seller is not same, so your shares will get rejected. You will not get the ownership. So all these things we have, the kind of old times that we have been through. And I am happy that I traveled the world. I traveled to so many countries. Went to their stock exchanges. I went to their depositories, and we actually, I was part of all the core committees which implemented all these changes which was happening in the world. And I'm happy to say that today India is ahead of US. The number of
Mhm.
trades we are doing is far more than what US is doing. The number of the amount of technology which is going into our systems is far better than what maybe New York Stock Exchange and other places.
Mm.
Like for example, TCP/IP protocol. Like this is one of the first protocols which in India we implemented, and still the protocols which were used in New York at that point of time was X.25, which was a very very old protocol. And you know what TCP/IP does is that if a message is sent, it gives you a confirmation that the message is received. So, it's a two-way communication. It is a protocol. Whereas in X.25, it's a one-way traffic. So, I will send a order, but I will not know whether it is received or not. The exchange will send me a confirmation, but I will not know whether the confirmation has reached the broker or not. So,
Okay.
it was a very, very important piece of protocol whose selection was done by BSC. And I'm happy to say that I was part of that selection where we weighed the two systems and we went for this protocol.
Wow.
So these are some of the things which seem very normal today, but at that point of time it was something very very unique, and something very different. And we managed to get all those things executed. Of course, the story of how we went about implementing is another story. Because people completely said, Deena Mehta, you are doing all this, but it's all useless. Nobody is going to listen to you. Nobody is going to use the systems. And what happened was that when we were running trial runs, the number of people who participated was just 7070. And how many brokers were there? There were 600 brokers. And if you count their number of terminals, it would be something close to 6,000. Okay.
Wow.
And of that, only 70 people used the systems. And then on the day we launched, 700 people came on the system. And obviously the system crashed.
Yeah.
And
Of course.
then there was so much bad mouthing. Arey, you don't know how to walk, you want to run, how can you have this? And what we did is that the most frequently traded script, which was Reliance, at that point of time, highest volume happened in Reliance. So we said we'll start with Reliance. So when we started with, because we said if you fail, if or you pass in the biggest traded script, then means you are there or you are not there. So we started with the highest script, and within few days the budget was going to come announced. And in India, when budgets are announced by the government, there's huge amount of ups and downs which happen in the market. So everybody was, on their tenterhooks. The budget is coming. Till night 1:30, 2 o'clock. I used to get phone calls. Don't do this. Don't do this. We said we had a team of 4 5 people,
Mhm.
and we said we are doing it, and we did it.
Wow. Wow. See?
Wow.
This
Yeah.
is, this is exactly,
This is why we had her on.
Yeah, exactly. Get a whole sense there. All right, what we're going to do is we don't want to interrupt this conversation,
No.
but we have to because we have to take a break. So we'll be right back on Staying Power with Deena Mehta. We have a lot of more questions to ask her. We'll be back in just a second. Hey, welcome back to Staying Power. Hoping you're enjoying this special conversation we're having today with Deena Mehta. In this next segment, Deena covers a lot of really interesting ground. She talks about the importance of everyone learning financial literacy, and she has some really interesting ideas of how soon we should start learning financial literacy, and also about how that has changed things in India as more people have done that. And she's been a real advocate for people learning financial literacy, particularly women, much earlier in life. And so she talks about that at length in this episode, and be sure to be listening for the great financial advice at the back end of the segment. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with this fascinating interview. Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
We're very excited to have a special guest in today, Deena Mehta, who has been telling us about her extraordinary career in India. She's been telling stories about being a major part of the Bombay Stock Exchange. She was the first woman in Indian history to be vice president and president of that exchange, and has been witness and participant in a lot of the major modernization changes in India over the last 40 years. And so clearly from the last segment, we saw you've got real drive. You don't like hearing no, and you don't listen to that seemingly. And you push really hard for what you think is right. And you called yourself a person really good at execution. So there's a lot of directions we can go here.
Mhm.
Ashley, what's come up for you with all this?
I'm just wowed, first of all. But I am curious, in all the things that you've been pioneering in, why were you drawn to the stock exchange?
To be honest, it was just by accident. See, I was working with a company called Crompton Greaves, and
Mhm.
that company I joined after I passed my MBA from
Mhm.
NMIMS. I completed my management education. I was already a chartered accountant, and I joined Crompton Greaves. I was working there. I was in the finance department, and I was arranging funds for the company for various expansion programs which were happening in the company. But this whole 9 to 5 job was something which was not really agreeing to me, because I
Mhm.
had so many suggestions as usual. I said, why is that we're not doing this? Why is you not doing this? This is possible. This is so easy to do. And this is just this attitude and everything. I was not at all happy,
Mhm.
because it was a old kind of an organization, and at that point of time, there were so many power stations in the entire company, where to make any change was really very difficult. So I was not very happy over there. So my husband had taken membership. My husband Asit, he had taken membership of the Bombay Stock Exchange,
Mhm.
and that it was not. It got transferred in his name, but he was working with some other company, so his license as a broker was not being used. So he told me, "Why don't you try this out? Go for a few days, and if you like it, you continue. Otherwise, keep looking for a job."
Mhm.
So with that idea, I went for the interview of the entering the trading ring, because first we had to enter. If you want to do transactions, you have to go to the ring. So I didn't know that I am the first woman who is going to enter
Oh,
the ring.
really?
You
So
didn't know.
when I went for interview, normally interview takes 2 minutes.
Mhm.
Okay, they just say, oh, who you are. They just check your antecedent and they say, okay, go. But in my case, the interview went on for 2 hours. Why it happened like that? What? Because the president of the exchange was totally dissuading me from not going into the ring. So first almost 30-40 minutes I heard properly. I said, sir, please, ye, wo. All this I would keep on saying, sir, please, sir, please. Then after 45 minutes, I suddenly realized that what is happening? Why is he's so actively dissuading me?
Mhm.
So then I said, no, I am going to go. So my whole stance I changed to being an aggressive person. I said, oh, what's your problem? You allow me to go. And what was the last argument? He said, we have no toilets for women.
Oh, jeez.
So if you go there are only male toilets. What will
Yeah.
you do? So I said, look, I'll take care of myself. You allow me to go.
You just let me handle that, okay? Move.
That was the last argument.
Yeah, that
you
was the
had.
last argument.
Last
So after
stance.
that, I was, allowed to go to the trading ring. And I tell you, once you go into the trading ring, the environment is so active and live. If there was a Kuwait war in early 90s, and the whole atmosphere is as if the warplanes are going above your head.
Oh, wow.
That is the kind of euphoria, positive, negative,
Mm.
everything which is there in the stock exchange. So
Mhm.
so that completely excited me. And one in a single day, my salary was 1600 rupees, which is a few pennies if you count your American this.
Mhm.
And in a single day I made 7 million rupees.
Whoa.
So
What?
I was so excited. And after
Wow.
that, in fact, I was the country's highest taxpayer, woman taxpayer.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So
no
two
time.
2 year in a row, I was the highest taxpayer of the country. So I mean, it was.
Mm.
So then I realized that I do have a potential to make money, so I should make
Mhm.
money, and also teach others as to how the money is to be made.
Mhm.
So going forward, a lot of changes which I suggested in the exchange. And of course, I told you how the online trading and all these things happen. So once I joined it, I was completely hooked on to the markets. I feel very, very excited and good about following the markets. And I think markets are one place where anything happening anywhere in the world, it has some or the other connection. Even if Mr. Putin, he were to fall sick, we'll have this in the market, some
Mhm.
news in the market. So
Mhm.
everything has an impact on the market. So which is what I feel is a real, I would say, real place where every person's performance is evaluated, be it a company, be it a MD, be it whoever, or be it a board. Are they
Mhm.
doing good corporate governance?
Mhm.
I mean, market is one place which is a universal evaluator of performance of every person.
It's true. That's true.
Which is such a broad impact it has on all our
Mhm.
lives. You may or may not be active in the market, but let me tell you, if the stock markets go down, even textile trader will say markets are down, what to do? Arre, but your textile market is doing well, why are
Mhm.
you complaining?
Yeah.
Saying no, but if stock market doesn't do well, then it impacts us.
Oh, and that's
So I feel that every market has got a very strong resilience power. It has a very strong, it is very strong indicator of performance.
Mhm.
If a board doesn't behave well, I mean, you don't follow corporate governance, then the share price will get beaten up.
Mhm.
People
Mhm.
know that this board is not performing well. And I have in my career seen so many boards which have not performed well, and so many companies have been stellar performers. So many investors have minted tens of money just because of the signals and the I would say entire processing of information by the markets. And markets always know.
Mhm.
They always know. You think,
Mhm.
oh, I know this information. I'll try to make some money out of it. But no, always somebody else knows the information. So, and a lot of people say markets are manipulated, but I tell you, the volumes are so high.
Mhm.
It is not possible for anybody to have that kind of money power to manipulate the market. Of course, some few scripts with less liquidity can get manipulated, but otherwise, nobody has the power to manipulate market in such a big way.
Mhm. Wow.
I mean, so I feel that, this is one place where if you really go deep into it, you really want to study it, study the world, study any share going up and down, you just go and look at the news. You will find some news, okay, something has happened in that company.
Mhm.
So, this kind of vibrant, I would say, a screen that you are constantly looking at, I mean, what better place to be in?
Well, it must have felt and must always feel like you are at the center
Yes.
of world events, not
Yes.
just whether you're standing in the Bombay Exchange or the New York Exchange or anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah, everything filters through that. And of course,
Yeah,
right now with
yeah.
everything going on in the
And
world.
and people also
Right.
believe you know everything. So wherever you go, everybody wants your opinion. Oh, this thing has happened. What do you think? Trump has changed the these tariffs. What will impact it will have? Even the I go to a swimming pool. It's a women only swimming pool. But seeing me, they also ask me that
Sure.
what about this?
What about
What
this?
happened? Because they have started since Mr. Modi has come into power. Let me tell you, there is a sea change in women in India. They have started seeing news, which they
Mhm.
never used to see. They used to only see serials, but they have started seeing news, which I feel is a big shift which has happened.
Mhm.
Oh,
And
sure.
then when they see the news, if the market has tanked, they will ask you what happened, what happened. So I feel that it is a now lot of interest is generated by various people, and what I feel is that the prosperity of the stock markets must go to every household.
Yeah.
And this is how you may be a doctor, an architect, or whatever you are, but
Mhm.
managing your finances is really something which is very, very important. And men may be good at making money, but they are not necessarily good managers of money.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, this is something we all need to know, and that is why I strongly advocate that women also should take part in the financial planning of the families. And
Absolutely.
even your teenage children, you should involve them.
Mhm.
Okay, they continuously go on making demands. I want a new phone, I want to go here, I want to go there. But every child should be aware once he becomes a teenager of what his family's finances are. And if you involve them in a small way of trying to understand, if nothing else, whatever stocks you have or whatever financial assets you have, you please document it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Have a document that this so much money I have in bank, so much I have in stocks, in mutual funds, here, there, this is what I have invested. This is how the income flow is coming out of this, because the investments that you have made should be one more member of your family who is contributing to your family.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay, it is not the husband alone who is contributing, or a working wife who is contributing. Even investment is one more very important family member. And if you see during corona, during corona, people have been so happy because they have invested, they lost their jobs, they couldn't go, so many daily workers, whoever, but the stock markets were open, they were working, and the investments did well, and they could encash the investments to meet their EMIs, which is a very, for the urban population, meeting the EMIs frequency is very, very important.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
investments are very important. So, according to
Right.
me, the whole entire the affair of managing your finances should be taken as a very, very important family duty. Like you go on a weekly shopping for your groceries,
Mhm.
you have various other things which you do with such frequency. Same thing has to be done with your financial assets. List them, find out where they stand. And let me tell you, there are enough studies to show that if you review your portfolio on a regular basis, your returns will just go up by
Mhm.
50%.
50
50%, 50,
just by paying attention.
just by paying attention.
That's incredible.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And
Mhm.
So there are enough studies which say this thing. So it is very strongly I advise people that one is, please have proper custody of your assets. your broker, whatever statement he sends, see to it that you get it on regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you may take some decisions which has actually caused a loss for you. Are you
Mhm.
aware of the loss? See, because what happens is that when it comes to booking of profit, people become greedy. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so my share, which was I bought for 10, it has become 20. And I go to sell. The broker says, oh, wait, it will go to 30. Okay, and I don't sell. And then what I bought at 10 becomes 8.
Right.
Because that
Mhm.
is not my, I have not reviewed. That is not my, important activity.
Mm-hmm.
And it has gone to 8.
Yep.
Right. So you've lost money by
You
not paying
you lost money.
attention.
Or
Yep.
if you have lost, you bought at 10, it has become 8. Then that's a real loss. Don't think it's a paper loss. It is a real loss.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And if that share is not worth, then I better sell it off. So these decisions, so I feel that, buying decision, you may consult any number of people and take a buying decision, but selling decision has to be yours only. You should have income targets or profit targets. If I earn 10, so if I rotate my portfolio 5 times a year, and if I keep 10 as a benchmark or 10 as a benchmark, I earn 50% return. Okay,
Just
but
for paying attention.
if I
Mhm.
target 50 straight away, then I don't know how much it will take, because a share going up by 50 is not so easy.
Wow.
And similarly on the risk side, so if I target a 10% return, the stop
Mhm.
loss can be 5%. So every time I target 10, my stop loss stays at 5 only. But if I target 50, then my stop loss is maybe 25 or 30. So I'm increasing my risk by targeting higher. Instead, if I turn 5 times, I will earn 50 with a 5% stop loss.
Mm.
So this, being smart about
Mhm.
investing, I think women in the family, teenage children, they should be involved to take care of your custody of financial assets. The family may jointly sit and decide where to spend their money, how much more shares to buy, to liquidate, not to liquidate. But these things are very important benchmarks for any family to follow, and to be, financially happy, and not children constantly feeling my mom is not giving money, my dad is not
Mhm.
giving money, what is this fellow has this, I don't have. All these, relationship related discontentment, it can be suitably managed if whole family is involved in financial planning.
Mhm.
Oh, that,
Financial intelligence is so important.
Uh,
And I don't think children are really taught that. I know I was not taught that. It
No.
was just what you just learned as you went through life. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people, they just assume and hope it's all just going to work out. And they don't actually take any time to really learn that. So I really appreciate you inspiring some curiosity about that.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that for me growing up, and I think for a lot of people here, it was something that was kept in the realm of the parents.
Yes.
And I was thinking about it as you were talking about it, how interesting things might be for me in some different ways if I had learned some of these things sooner. So, okay, we're going to take another break. And when we come back, we'll finish up this part of the conversation with Deena Mehta about building a better life. In her case, talking about it in her own life, in all of India. We've been going all over the place. We're going to keep going all over the place. We'll be back in just a minute. Hey, welcome back once again to this special episode of Staying Power here with Deena Mehta. And in this final segment of today's episode, she goes deep into length about how difficult it was and how long it took to really push through some of the major financial and political reforms she was a part of in India to help turn its economy into a more modern and more prosperous direction. So there's a lot of material in there about that. But what's really underscored to Ashley and I about this was her determination, her focus, and her resilience, which is why we really wanted her to talk about this at length for the last part of this episode. We hope that you enjoy that. And certainly we hope that you enjoy the continuation of this next week. Welcome back to Staying Power. JD here with Ashley.
Hello.
And we are having a absolutely fascinating conversation with Deena Mehta. Deena, thank you so much for all of this. Talk about building a better life. We've talked about it on the macro level. It's clear where your passions are for this, on financial planning, for women in particular, for children. that type of thing, and that's been reflected in your whole career. I'd like to shift a little bit to a couple of quotes that I found for you. I think one came from a BBC interview you had. I'm not sure where the other one came from, but the first one said, you once said that every obstacle has an opportunity hidden in it. You certainly have probably faced that in your own life. What are some things that come to mind for you when you hear that, either about why you think that's important to view an obstacle as an opportunity? Any examples you have of that from your own life? What comes up for you with that?
No, actually, I would say that that when the obstacle comes, it is not always that the opportunity has come at that same point of time. But
Mhm.
that faith is very important. That if there is an obstacle, how do I find a way out of this, and so that we can have a better solution than what we are in today. Like for example, we were implementing the entire depository system, and the price waterhouse, they had set up a fund called fire, that is financial industry reforms and something. It was a fire project. So in the fire project, they really made a wonderful paper that was in the late 90s on how a depository system should be. But what happened in India was that everybody threw it out. They said, oh, yeah, you can't, how can you have such a system? I like to sleep with my share certificate under my pillow, and you are asking me to give it away and dematerialize it. So I said, and at that point, lot of cooperative banks, they used to go bust in India. Not the nationalized, the main banks, but lot of cooperative, very very small banks, they would go bust. So if you try to equate it, oh, this is something similar to a bank. So instead of having a bank for money, you have a bank for shares. So this is something similar. And but people were against it. And worst was that the person, the chairman of the Security Exchange Board, who later became a chairman. Earlier, of course, then he headed the depository company also. But when he was not a chairman, he also felt, oh, how can we? Our people are illiterate. They will give away the shares. What we'll do? So it became a huge roadblock for us, because the regulator himself was not supporting the whole thing, and we were for it. So we visited the in US, and in US the system is, they have got a depository trust corporation, DTC.
Sure.
So actually all your shares which are there, they are stored in the DTC, and it has a office in New York which is 8 floors below. And what happens is that the DTC is the shareholder. So if you have shares, the DTC will hold on your behalf. But what DTC does is that DTC would store the shares. It is called immobilization of shares. That means the share certificate is kept in their safe, and it has a very wonderful, oxygen mask will fall. There is a fire drill.
Mhm.
Suppose if there is a fire and there are robots inside, so if a particular certificate needs to be altered, the robot will go and bring it. Very hi-fi thing, which I saw in, I would say, early 90s. I had
Mm.
visited the DTC. And then we went to Paris. And in Paris, they had dematerialization. Means every time a share would come, it would be completely shredded and gone.
Huh.
So means so you convert the physical into a demat form, that is a electronic format. So then there was huge debates. He said we should go the American way. Then somebody felt, oh, if we go American way and if the shares are stolen, then you'll have two shares. One
Right.
will be electronic and other will be physical. So this was a huge amount of debates went on and on. And then we said, no, this is a real obstruction in which, so we said, okay, we'll take care of your sleeping under the pillow. You keep your shares under the pillow, but if you want to trade, you have to make them in electronic form. So
Oh.
so with that, we were able to convert that whole whatever problems they had. We converted into an opportunity, and we said, okay, we'll do trading only in demat stocks. And today, you won't believe, every share in the country, be it listed, unlisted, private, public, every share today is dematerialized. So that was a big challenge before us to convert everything into this, and I'm proud to say that actually in India a lot of money, investments came from foreigners and others. When I the ISCO, they had certain standards, that is the international stock exchange body,
Right.
and as per those standards, having depository was one of them. Okay, so once depository fell in place, online trading happened, and we had what is called as a trade guarantee system. So every trade which happened, it instead, if it was between brokers in the earlier system, it would roll back. So I traded with her, she traded with this, she traded with this. So if it was a change of 20 people, then whole 20 unlocking of the transaction would happen. So all 20 would get impacted. So we introduced the trade guarantee system where every trade had counterparty as the clearing corporation. So we got what is a trade guarantee system. So if anybody were to fail in the system, the trade guarantee would take responsibility for that person. So that's how we managed to do away with the old system, and we got this new trade guarantee system in place. So these three things, that is online trading, trade guarantee, and CDSL, these three things, once they got implemented, world money started pouring into the country.
How long
And
did the process take to transition all
I
that?
would say, see, we started online trading in 95. In 98, 97, 98, we got the trade guarantee system. And in 2000, we got the depository.
Oof.
So between 95 and 2000, and of course, lot of SEC, which is our local, it is called Securities and Exchange Board of India, or SEBI. They also changed lot of laws in relation to turnover, in relation to fraudulent and unfair practices, in relation to IPOs, the public offerings which came. So all these things combined together, India became a hot destination for all the FIs to start investing. And if you see the history of India, say from, like, I have witnessed from 84 to 2025 as I am today. So from 84, there have been two major scams. One is was called as a Harshad Mehta scam, and other was called as Ketan Parekh scam. And another dominance of a person in a positive manner was Mr. Dhirubhai Ambani. Mr. Ambani, that is the Reliance Group chairman, he believed that the small investors can really give money to the companies and they can help the companies to grow. So what happened was that these three personalities, that is Harshad Mehta, Dhirubhai Ambani, and Ketan Parekh, these three personalities dominated the market. Okay. So whatever Harshad Mehta did, everybody followed. Whatever Dhirubhai did, everybody followed. Whatever Ketan Parekh did, everybody followed. So from the focus got shifted from individuals to the companies, which is what is the value in a company, and that value was recognized by the FIIs.
Okay.
And then investors started following them, that in this company there is a value, and value versus price, the weight is in favor of value, let us buy these shares. So this whole shift from a person based market to a value based market, it happened because of these major changes which happened in the country's markets. So I would say that this was one period where the huge amount of benefits were given to the investors, and that is how Indian markets have really flourished because of these changes which happened.
Wow. That's amazing. Okay. Yeah. So that's a 5-year effort,
Yes,
more or less,
yes,
to
yes.
modernize that.
Wow.
And that was something that I know you were in the vanguard of helping advocate for. Was this something that when you had to explain this or make these arguments, were you taking in, like talking about what other countries were doing and saying, this is what we need to do here and why? Was that something that you were kind of alone in advocating for? Did you have
No,
support?
we had a very tough time selling these ideas. I have met every finance minister of this country. I have, advocated these are the changes which required, because a lot of changes had to be made in the law also. Like, for
Mhm.
example, Bombay Stock Exchange was a AOP. It is any, it's a AOP uh, is a institution which is not a company. Okay.
Mhm.
So we wanted to become a company. We wanted to be for profit company. We wanted to take investments from people. Now, this required four amendments in the Income Tax Act, which said that one amendment was that you will not tax the assets which are being transferred. So, if the assets go from one entity to another, there will be no tax. Then the
Mhm.
broker, if he has membership of the exchange, if he transfers to the another entity, there will be no tax. Then there will be no sales tax. Sales tax, there is a sales tax on transfer of assets, that will not be there.
Mhm.
Then Bombay Stock Exchange entered into so many contracts with all entities all over the world for supply of equipment, for supply of networking equipment, for all kinds of agreements had been entered into. So seamlessly transferring those agreements to a new entity rather than entering into all those agreements again.
Wow.
So all these required, federal or, central government to pass laws. And I tell you how many times we have been to Delhi just to get every small thing approved by the government.
Wow.
And we got one change a year. So it took 4 years
Oh,
for
wow.
four changes to happen.
Wow.
So
Sheesh.
it was a very, very, and I met all the so many chief ministers of the country. I met Prime Minister, I met Sonia Gandhi, I met all the opposition chiefs. Mr. Pranab Mukherjee was there. Mr. Modi I met 3 times
Oh,
in the
the
recent
current
times. Yeah,
prime minister.
yes,
Yeah.
I met
Wow.
him 3 times. Manmohan Singh, I've had lunch with him
Oh
in
my
his
goodness.
cabin. He was too busy. He said, "Okay, you come and sit with me, eat my salad. I will eat other things, and let's have a meeting." So then, Mr. Chidambaram, lot of licensing I have done. They tried to introduce some new taxes, that is a security transaction tax.
Mhm.
So I led the brokers team, and I got those diluted at that point of time. But today they are as they were before, and governments get much more revenue than what they got at that point. But at that point, I was successful in Mr. Chidambaram, in trying to make it as a part tax rebate, which instead of treating, then it got treated as an expense. But earlier it was treated as a rebate. So whatever tax you had to pay, you could take a set off
Mm.
Hmm.
in this. So all these things, huge amount of licensing I have done with all the chief ministers of the country, with all the finance ministers, with the prime minister, everybody. We have tapped their doors to see to it that we get the changes done. So it has been a very Herculean task.
Yeah.
And in between, what happened is the government set up the National Stock Exchange. So the National Stock Exchange was a big brother, and though we were old, we were treated as second class citizens, the Bombay Stock Exchange.
Mhm.
So it took a lot of effort to, change their entire thinking, and to make them understand as to, what is our purpose and how we have got footprints all over the country. I traveled 450 districts of the country. I did so many education programs teaching people how to use new technology, what to do, all these things. It was a very, very big effort at that point of time.
Wow, it sounds like it, man. And so now, for all listeners and viewers, you know why we needed two
2
shows
shows.
to do this, because we have so many other questions, and unfortunately, we're out of time for this episode. But not to fear, because next week we're going to continue this conversation. Because I don't know about you, Ashley, I've got a lot of other questions.
I have much more.
Yeah,
Yes.
many more questions, so many more, and we're excited to have Deena come back next week. Deena, thank you so much for taking the time, for sharing your expertise, sharing these stories. I know we have a lot of follow up that we're going to follow up with in the second part
Mhm.
of this conversation next week, because wow, I want to know what, first of all, when do you sleep? Because it sounds like you haven't slept in 40 years, and also what you see as the key for everybody, the lessons from your experience, the key for everybody to reach their true potential, right? And I know you have a lot of thoughts on that, so we will talk about that next week. So for now, Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
All right. And Ashley, we will be back
We'll be back.
next week. And remember, if you missed any of this episode, you're going to want to catch the rest of it. So you can find this as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check it out on our YouTube channel. And if you have any questions about this or any comments, we'd love to hear your reaction. You can email us at stayingpowershow@gmail.com. You can also reach out to us on our social media feeds, particularly Instagram is our favorite.
Mhm.
And we will, of course, be sharing a lot more information, a lot of clips from this conversation with Deena Mehta on those platforms. But of course, we will see you next week for this continued conversation. Until then, I'm JD.
And I'm Ashley.
We will see you soon.
Bye.